Hey, it's Wilson, and today I'm going to start a new segment called Wilson's Weekly Photo Breakdown. In this segment, I'm going to break down photos I found on the internet and break them down into what makes them a good photo or not. I may find photos from famous photographers, photos from National Geographic, or just random photos off the internet that might not be so good, and it'd be interesting to hear why they're not great or why they're really great. So let's get started. Today we're going to look at a photo by Henri Cartier-Bresson. He is probably one of the most famous photographers in history, known as the father of photojournalism, modern photojournalism. Street photography is a bit different than, I guess, regular photography that most of us are used to seeing, in that it isn't necessarily pretty, but the images are compelling in that they tell a story and there's many elements to the image instead of just one central focal point, like one central obvious focal point, I should say, like a portrait, which it would be the person's face or the eyes. So looking at this photo, the first thing you see is a man jumping over the puddle, and I think this is what the photo might actually be called. There's actually many interesting things about this photo. So what Henri has done here is he's captured a fleeting moment. The man who is the subject is actually a little blurry. He's got a reflection here from the puddle. And one of the most interesting things about this photo is that it has a sense of mystery, in that you think, if this is his reflection, that means this is all water. And it sure looks like that's the case, because you can see the reflection of the fence, this other man here, this wall. So you would assume that this is a puddle that's quite large, but where the mystery comes in is, where did he come from? Because that's quite a far leap. Did he come from this ladder? There are ripples on the ladder, so it would be safe to assume that maybe he did come from this ladder. But where's he going? You don't know. Is there something right here that he can land on? Based on the position of his feet, it looks like he's going to land right in the puddle. But Henri has left this a mystery, which makes the photo more interesting in a way. You can see where he came from this way, but you don't know where he's going. And the fact that he's also silhouetted, all you really know is that this is a man. You can't really tell his age or anything about them. That's a point of interest, because the more mystery there is, and this is kind of getting into more art speak, but it opens up to your own interpretation of the feelings of the image instead of a traditional pretty image that's more given to you. Other things that are interesting in this image, actually, is from a technical standpoint, is that this photo was taken back in the day, obviously on a film camera. With that being said, he didn't have the modern technologies of autofocus, or let alone even fast shutter speeds even, because you can tell that this man here is blurry, whereas everything else, like this man here, who's more stationary, is quite sharp. Let's actually talk about this man right here. So one photo technique that is used by photographers to make a photo more interesting is repetition. And you actually kind of see repetition in this image in 2 or 3 places. So the first one that stood out to me is this man is repeated by these other shapes. And it's more emphasized, even more so, by the fence. I'm not sure what these other shapes are, but they repeat. And it kind of brings you to the main subject. See, everything in an image should bring you to the main subject. And this piece of repetition here pulls you towards the main subject. Your main subject should generally be the point where there's the highest contrast in the frame as well. And this is evident here, where we have the almost white background against the silhouette of a man that's almost black completely. The next element of repetition is actually quite clever. You see the position this man is jumping in? It's repeated right here in the poster, which is repeated here and here and here. So this photo, in a way, works really well in that it all speaks together as one piece. This photo also emphasizes the rule of thirds. If you divide this photo into a third grid, so, you will see that he falls on the grid that is on the right to the middle. So it's not dead center, which makes it more interesting because it gives room for other things to fall on the other sides, like this one. The repetition here, it falls on this grid up here, the corner of that one. And it's also divided into thirds, actually. You have the bottom third, the clear middle, and then the top third. And the top and bottom are actually quite similar. They're both very light in the photo. And even looking at this now, if you mirror this image, if you flip it over, let's say, this clock tower, or the top of this building here, is actually repeated in the reflection of the man. There's one more thing I'd like to talk about here, and that is how he might have gotten this image. Of course, I have no idea, but I can make a guess. It's either he got really lucky and caught this fleeting moment, which is possible, and any photographer that has shot for any respectable amount of time has taken many images where they were just in the right place, right time. But I think, and this is a huge guess here, but I think what's more likely, just given the time this was taken in that it might not be as fleeting as a moment as it might look out to be, he may have been camped out here for a little while. How long? Who knows? It could be like a few seconds, it could be minutes, even longer. And he may have noticed these elements in the frame, and he may have noticed that people, more than one person, was jumping off this little ladder thing and into the puddle or across. So he may have seen this and just captured it. And that's the thing with photography. You only show what you want to show, and no one else gets to see what happens before or after. So even though this may look like a super organic fleeting moment, it may have been something that he observed over a duration of time and captured. So it may have been a bit of luck, but there was a lot of thought and planning beforehand in the creation of this image. At a glance, without studying this photo deeper and looking at the history behind this image, I feel like that's it. We've pretty much covered most major things in this image. Hopefully there was something there that you found helpful, if not at least interesting. If there's ever any photos that you'd like me to break down, feel free to leave a comment or to hit me up personally. I'll catch you next time.